ridiculous. So again, come back to my basic point. We don't know what happened to the passengers. We don't know much about the planes. What we do know is one thing: the official story is false about all 4 airliners and all 4 buildings, meaning the Pentagon and the 3 World Trade Center buildings.
What questions, what facts first opened your eyes to that 9/11 was a false flag operation? Or inside job?
It's kind of hard to remember which ones. I know what document it was. It was a brief version of Paul Thompson's timeline, complete 9/11 timeline. And a colleague sent that to a colleague of mine who forwarded it to me, and I read it, and it just took a few hours to see something is seriously wrong. And then I got some other reading material, particularly Nafiz Ahmed's book, which was the first book in English to give a pretty extensive critique of the official theory. So those were my 2 major sources for New Pearl Harbor. But I think the first element of the story that I focused on was the story about the interceptions, why the military's excuse for why it didn't intercept the planes. And only later did I come to problems in the Pentagon, and then and I was fairly late coming to the World Trade Center buildings. So I think that's the order. But let's see, I was going to add one point here, but it slipped my mind, so go ahead.
About the present U.S. administration, how are they are involved, or are they opening up towards the 9/11 investigation? What's their policy with 9/11?
Obama's mantra thus far has been, we want to look forward, not backward. And he said this with regard to the torture. And he's coming under enormous pressure from lawyers, leading lawyers, New York Times, virtually everyone saying, this can't stand. We can't have recognition, public recognition that torture occurred. This is violation of international law. This is war crimes. And we can't excuse CIA officials because they say, oh, we got a memo from above that said this was okay. We've known for a very long time that waterboarding is torture. And there's this little thing called the Nuremberg defense that we did not allow. We did not allow that German Nazi officers could say, we were just following orders. If you know the orders are immoral, illegal, you must disobey the orders, no matter what your superiors say. And we prosecuted both Japanese and German officers on those grounds, so we cannot turn around and say now, oh, they're excused because they were just following orders. So that remains to be seen, what will happen. And I've frankly been away from the news now for several weeks, just getting little snippets here and there, so I'm not really up on what has happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But since the truth about the torture is out in public and much discussed, and Obama administration thus far as I know, has not agreed to do anything about it, that means that 9/11 Truth is in far more trouble because it's not even out yet, and the consequences, psychological, economic, political, cultural, everything, would be so much greater with regard to 9/11 than the torture. The Obama administration would surely be much less inclined to do something. And that's why I stress it will take enormous pressure from friendly governments and professional people and scientists, and yes, journalists. Don't forget this new organization, Media Professionals for 9/11 Truth. So it will take enormous pressure, but this is a worldwide problem we have here. It's not just a United States problem. People say, well, JFK was never revealed. The JFK assassination, the fact that it was an inside job, meaning that it was done by people within the government. CIA was clearly, and Secret Service both involved in that, along with others. And it was pretty obvious. And yet it's never been publicly acknowledged, even though more than 50% of the American people seem to know the official story is false. So people say, well, if that hasn't been revealed publicly after all these years, why do you think 9/11 will? Well, 9/11 is completely different. 9/11 affects virtually all countries. You've had devastating implications for your countries. This was not true with the JFK assassination. That had devastating implications for Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, because JFK was all the evidence suggests he was going to pull out. But for the rest of the world, not so much, so people didn't care so much. Likewise, you didn't have JFK assassination truth movements in how many countries now, Annie, do you know? It's 30 or 40 countries that have 9/11 truth movements. And within America alone, I don't know, there are, something like 100 pretty lively, vital movements, and many within many European countries. So it's completely different, both in its scope and in the intensity and how fast it has moved. Many people say, well, that was 8 years ago. Well, with these things, 8 years is not a long time. It was much longer that after that much came out about the JFK assassination. So we're moving along really pretty fast, and the strength of the 9/11 movement, both in numbers, absolute numbers, and in percentages of the populations of the various countries, and now the growth of these professional organizations, this is rather remarkable. So one can't say because that one never got publicly revealed, this one won't. This is very different.
Okay.
So let me just conclude by thanking you all very much. You've been a superb audience. Thank you.
Wir bedanken uns auch sehr herzlich bei David, dass er hier gewesen ist. Das ist eine ganz außergewöhnliche Geschichte, muss man sagen. We are also thankful to Annie to organize the European tour and putting us on the schedule. And we hope having you back on many more events and bigger events in Germany, and we look forward to the future. That it is going to be a very important political stream in Europe, we hope it will be. And if you did like the lecture today, maybe you can contribute a little donation at the exit in this little blue pot, so to keep up the good work of David Ray Griffiths. Thank you.